Here's a pop quiz. You're working in a company that uses AI in hiring, in finance, or in customer service. Which regulation applies? If you're not sure or you just hesitated a bit, you're not alone. And today we're going to fix that. If you've been wondering which AI governance or risk management framework to learn, or to learn first, you're asking the right question at exactly the right time. When I first started teaching and speaking on AI ethics, I noticed that one of the biggest challenges wasn't just whether one needed technology knowledge to get into AI, it's also the challenge of understanding all the frameworks and the guidelines. Individuals were asking the question, where do I start? So in this video, I'm going to describe the framework to start learning. Now, why does this matter? Well, AI, like you know, is already shaping real world decisions. Who gets a job, who qualifies for a loan, which patient gets prioritized. But with that great power, well, you know, the rest comes risks for organizations like AI incidents, ending up on an AI incident website, and even lawsuits. That's why AI governance is important. It's the structure and the framework that's put in place by organizations to guide how AI is developed, deployed, and used responsibly. One can think of AI governance like traffic laws. You don't need to memorize or to know the entire universal code in order to drive, but you do need to know the rules for the country that you're in or the state and the route where you're going. So governance frameworks are similar. You don't need all of them, but you do need to know the right one for where you're headed. So let's walk through 7 of the most popular AI frameworks and help you to choose where to start or which one to focus on. The first one is the NIST AI Risk Management Framework. It's developed by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. It focuses on identifying, assessing, and managing AI risk across the entire AI lifecycle. Now, why does this matter? Why does this one matter? It's voluntary, but even though it's voluntary, it's highly respected. Many US companies align with it to demonstrate responsible AI practices. If you're based in the US or advising enterprise clients, this might be your starting point. The second one is the EU AI Act. It was passed by the European Parliament in 2024. It classifies AI systems by risks, whether they are unacceptable, whether it is high, limited, or minimal. It requires strict controls for high-risk systems like biometric ID and credit scoring. Why it matters? If your company touches the EU market in any way, compliance is mandatory. This is the most comprehensive legislation in the world right now. So if your job touches Europe, you can't afford to ignore this one. This is where you need to probably start. The third one is the Federal Reserve SR 117. It was originally designed for financial models or financial systems. Now it is increasingly applied to AI systems. It emphasizes model validation, which is validating the model, the AI model, and using an independent review, as well as making sure that documentation is available for every step of the way. Why it matters? If you're in the financial services industry or you're auditing AI in banking, this is your foundational playbook. In other words, it's not optional. It's expected that you know this one. The fourth one is New York City Local Law 144. This one became effective in July 2023. It requires an annual bias audit of any hiring tool that's used in New York City. It mandates that audit reports must be publicly posted. And yes, companies must publish their audit reports. You can go online right now and find them. This transparency is very real. So if you're in HR technology, you're in recruitment or AI hiring, this law might set the tone for the future for this industry, barring any recent changes in the US regarding whether individual states can create their own AI laws. Colorado has its own specific law. This regulation or framework applies to insurers using AI for underwriting, pricing, or claims. It mandates fairness, bias mitigation, and governance documentation. Why this one matters? This is one of the first sector-specific AI regulation in the US. So if you're in insurance or any adjacent industry, Colorado is just the beginning. OECD AI principles is the sixth one. This framework or set of principles was endorsed by 38 countries, including the US. It is non-binding, but highly influential in setting global norms. It focuses on human rights, democratic values, and transparency. So you might think of this one like a UN declaration for AI. It's not a law, but it shapes how nations and international businesses approach AI ethics. The last but not the least in this list is the ISO IEC 42001. It's a standard for AI management. This framework was published in December 2023. It is the first global standard for managing AI within an organization. So as companies mature, they're starting to treat AI like an asset, like a regulated asset. This standard is what you see on procurement checklists and audit forms very soon. Now, on a side note, just something I think you should know is that all of these other frameworks that I've mentioned, except the ISO framework, can be downloaded for free. The ISO is the only one that you have to pay for. Right now, and it's around $200 a pop. Now, and it's $199 to be specific, the last time I checked. Now, back to the main point. What does this mean for your career? So if you're trying to get into AI governance, compliance, or risk management, which framework should you learn? As an AI governance professional, though, you need to learn all of them. However, if you're already working in a specific industry, say maybe finance, insurance, and you're wondering which one to start with, here's how I would approach it. Match the framework to your industry. So if you're in finance, you will start with the SR 117 or NIST. If you're in hiring or HR technology, you would look at the NYC 144. If you're working globally or you're working for a company that has a global reach, then you would begin with the OECD principles or the EU AI Act. But if you're still unsure, pause this video right now, open up the comments and tell me your role or your industry, and I'll point you in the right direction. But I want to do a little more than just list the frameworks and kind of skim over what they are. I want to walk through each of them with you. So in the upcoming sessions, I like to do a deeper dive on each framework. I'll cover what the document says, why it matters, and how organizations are using it today. And most especially how you can apply it in your current role or a future job. So I'm planning to walk through each of these frameworks, so don't miss it. So let me know in the comments what frameworks you think we should start with. Should we start with NIST, SR 117, the EU AI Act, NYC 144? Drop your vote and I'll start there. So whether you're coming from compliance or tech or completely from a different background, learning these frameworks will give you an edge in a fast-growing field like AI. Because the professionals who speak both AI and regulation, they are the ones leading this conversation. So if that's the future you want, hit the subscribe button, like the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.